If you open any Western business magazine today, you will see two completely different stories about China. One day, they tell you China is a massive economic threat that is going to take over the world. But then, the very next day, they claim China's economy is collapsing, that factories are empty, and that the growth is over. So, which one is it? Is China the next unstoppable superpower? Or is it a falling giant? And here's the truth. It is neither. Most Western media outlet looks at China through an old lens. They look at basic numbers like simple GDP growth and think they understand the whole picture. But they miss the actual strategy. And if you are an entrepreneur, an investor, or someone importing goods, relying on these headlines is dangerous. Let's look past the hype. I'm Philip, your contact in China. No drama, just data. Let's get into it. Let's start with the biggest headline you hear everywhere: the real estate crash. For the last few years, Western media loved talking about China's property bubble. They showed empty apartment buildings, they talked about giant companies like Evergrande going under, and then they said, look at this. This is China's Lehman Brothers moment. The whole economy will crash. But it didn't. Why? Because the Chinese government did something Western countries rarely do. They choose to let the property market slow down. Think about it like this. For 20 years, China grew fast by building stuff. Apartments, roads, bridges. If you wanted to make money in China, you bought real estate. Simple. But this created a massive mountain of debt. So Beijing looked at this mountain and said, stop. We cannot build our economic future on concrete. We need to move our money into something that actually makes us powerful. Advanced technology. So they cut off cheap loans for property developers. Yes, it hurt. It made local consumption slow down. It made regular citizens very cautious with their money. But it was a deliberate choice. China traded cheap debt-fueled growth for long-term survival. They're moving away from building apartments and moving straight into building advanced industries. And where did all the money go? Well, right now, China is launching its 15th five-year plan. And the biggest buzzword inside the country is a phrase called New Quality Productive Forces. Now that sounds like boring political language, right? But for business owners, it's everything. It means China is officially done with being the cheap factory of the world. They don't want to make cheap shoes, cheap plastics, or cheap toys anymore. They want to own the high-tech supply chains. Take electric vehicles, for example. Now, a few years ago, Western car makers laughed at Chinese EVs. And today, companies like BYD are dominating globally. And it's not just cars. It is lithium batteries, solar energy, and AI hardware. Now, Western media often says, well, China only succeeds because the government gives out massive subsidies. But isn't it oversimplifying it? You cannot just throw money at a factory and suddenly build the world's most advanced supply chain. The real secret is integration. In places like Shenzhen or the Greater Bay Area, you have thousands of specialized suppliers living right next to each other. So if you need a custom microchip, a specific battery component and a new casing, you can get them all designed, built and shipped within a 10-kilometer radius. The West has outsourced this exact skill for 30 years. And you simply cannot rebuild that kind of ecosystem overnight just by passing a new tariff law. So let's talk numbers. Beijing set the economic growth target for this year at around 4.5 to 5%. And when Western analysts see this, they instantly jump up and say, oh, look, China used to grow at 8% or 10%. Now it's dropping. Now they are losing power. But honestly, this is basic mess. But people choose to ignore it. First of all, China's economy today is worth over $20 trillion. Growing a $20 trillion economy by 5%, adds way more actual value to the world than growing a smaller economy by 10% 15 years ago. The scale is completely different. And second, Beijing is actively trying to stop what they call involution. Inside China, they call it neijuan. It means blind, wasteful competition. For the past 2 years, Chinese companies fought brutal price wars against each other. It made goods incredibly cheap, sure, but it completely destroyed profit margins. So now, the government is signaling that slower, higher quality growth is fine as long as companies stop burning money and focus on real innovation. Now, why does all this matter to you? If you run a business, you keep hearing this popular word decoupling. Politicians tell you to stop buying from China. They tell you to move your supply chain to Vietnam, India, or Mexico. But as a business reality, true decoupling is almost impossible for high-value products. Yes, simple assembly factories are moving to Southeast Asia, but where do those factories buy their machinery? Where do they buy the raw materials, the components and their microchips? They buy them from China. China is transitioning. They are moving from the place that assembles your product to the place that creates the technology inside your product. So if you want to build a stable company over the next 5 years, your strategy shouldn't be blindly running away. Your strategy should be smart risk management. You need to understand how to navigate this new high-tech China. Look, the media sells panic because panic gets clicks. But as business owners, we need data, not drama. China's economy isn't collapsing. It's undergoing a massive structural upgrade. And the people who understand this upgrade are the ones who will win the next decade of global trade. If you want to stay ahead of these shifts and protect your business, hit the subscribe button right now. Thanks for watching and I see you in the next video.